Hey guys, so in this video I am going to explain why I am deciding to quit my job as a physical therapist permanently. I spent 9 long, hard years working to get my degree to become a physical therapist. Now I decide that I do not want to pursue this anymore. I have been working for the past 3 months. Once I graduated PT school, I worked for 2 years. I got sick with Lyme disease and I took 5 years off of work. At work, there's these productivity demands that are never ending. Every single action you do with the patient, you have to be able to bill for it. I work in the nursing home. The environment's already sad and difficult to deal with, and people are dealing with a lot of emotions there. There's death going on. It's our job to get the patient up and walking, on top of all these difficulties on just being in this environment in general. It's a lot to handle mentally. Push, push, push. You have to see this person for this long. You have to see this person today, and you have to document this so the insurance company won't deny payment, reimbursement, basically. So we're basically used almost as these objects to get the company money, get, if you're working for in a nursing home, the nursing home money, because it's very valuable skill set that we have. But the documentation has just become ridiculous. I can't take my time with the patient. I feel like if you have a 30-minute session with patients, 15 minutes of that session is documenting what you're doing with the patient, which is completely pointless. At work, I just find it really hard to be mindful of my illness, be in the present in general. The stress has been bringing back a lot of my Lyme symptoms. I've been experiencing heavy fatigue, foot pain, my gut issues came back. Ever since I kind of had what one would call an awakening, I looked at my illness differently and I was beginning to heal. That took a completely different mindset to accomplish these things, to get better from, a devastating disease where you think you're gonna almost die from. You don't get there by the same means that got yourself into the position. Before I got sick, I was running every single day, weightlifting every single day, being a perfectionist, working 40 plus hours a week, not thinking anything else, not thinking about life in general, not thinking about anything spiritual, not thinking about why we're here on this earth. My sole accomplishment was just make money and look good and have material things, impress other people with my status and job position. That's something that I do not value whatsoever now. Instead of focusing on the physical form of my body like I used to all the time, I'm focusing more on the mental aspect of things, spirituality, the real purpose of life, questioning why everyone's here, why we're even going through this existence in the first place. What is the point of all this? What's the point of life? So I'm kind of pondering bigger questions here than working as a physical therapist, and even though I'm making $50 an hour, it's not worth it for me. I could obviously continue on this path. I'm to the point where in my illness progression that I can work and I can do these things, and I have somewhat of an energy in reserve to be able to go out and work. I'm working on spiritual development and working basically as a distraction from that. Every single time I go to work, I dread it. It's just hard for me to physically stay present at work because of all the demands. So I'm going to be doing a lot of reading of Eckhart Tolle. There's this book called 4 Agreements that I want to do a video on soon. There's just a bunch of stuff that I want to do. I'm going to get my wellness coaching certification. Part of my drive for that is seeing what has been going on in the nursing home, how a lot of them could have, I'm not saying everyone in the nursing home, but a lot of the patients in the nursing home could have been prevented by being put in the nursing home and having limited mobility, limited capabilities of feeding themselves, limited, cognition. There's this way to prevent this kind of thing by diet and nutrition and mental health, self-care, and even just sleeping more. I can further learn how to help people with habit changing. I believe there's so much more than just wellness coaching to life in general. This isn't, the cure-all by any means. The medical field is solely focused on illness and disease. That's all they learn about in med school is illness, progression of disease, acute injuries. They don't learn anything about health or wellness. They maybe have an hour of nutrition, which is completely ridiculous. Digestive doctors, a lot of them say that diet isn't even related to ulcerative colitis. I've had my fair share of experience with doctors denying that I was having any problems. They use that power status in order to knock people down and lift themselves up, saying they're right and they're the ultimate power players. And I read an interesting book a couple years ago that actually suggested many physicians decide to become physicians in order to basically control life or death. Because if the patient lives, then they say, oh, I helped this patient out, and if the patient dies, oh, I predicted that, I knew they were going to die. So they're kind of playing this like God role, which kind of makes sense because a lot of the physicians do try to minimize how the patients feel and what the patients think. So I'm not saying this is all physicians by any means. I'm just saying in general it's kind of the medical field is a toxic field to be in, for me at least. And then also with mental health, they just hand out meds, which I do not think is the way to go. There's a lot of other techniques to do rather than give someone medication. I'm not saying that it's never appropriate to give medication for mental illness, antidepressants, so on. There are a lot of options, and everything needs to be pursued before you resort to medication. I know every single situation is different, but that's just kind of my opinion. Of course we need medical doctors, and of course we need them for acute trauma and stuff, but when it comes to chronic illnesses, things could be handled a lot differently. I don't want to be in that environment anymore than I have to be. I'm thinking that I was a lot happier before I went to work, and just me recognizing and saying that is a huge deal because of how ingrained productivity has been instilled in me my whole entire life. So by saying that I choose not to go back to work is kind of a huge thing for me. I'm not gonna lie, it's a really hard decision for me to not continue with work because I almost feel restless now. Like I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what's my purpose? Like, I've been almost distracting myself with work, and now that I'm not working, I'm concentrating more on my illness, and everything's kind of coming to light that I'm just trying to figure things out. Like, I'm not using work as a distraction anymore, and I'm really trying to understand who I am as a person and more of what I like to do rather than continuing the easy path. I'm not trying to diss people individually that work in the medical field. Medical field as a whole is fairly corrupt. Anybody that goes to school for something medical related, that it's almost like a brainwashed type of thing, and people have to stay obedient and do exactly what they're told. That's like kind of like the whole schooling process, and it instills this like fear in your mind that you better not screw up and you better not do anything wrong, even though I think the third highest cause of death in the United States is medical mistakes. So obviously putting the sense of fear in people is not really a good strategic way to go in order to make sure the doctors don't make mistakes once they get out of medical practice, because nobody's perfect, everybody's human, everybody's going to make mistakes in life. Anyways, with that whole rant, I just really believe that the medical system is toxic for me right now, and that I need to concentrate on getting more out in nature, work on the wellness coaching certification, and start reading a whole bunch of books. And I plan on doing more videos in the kind of weeks to come on everything I've been reading and everything I've been learning, and so this is kind of going to be like a journey type of thing. That's about it. Thanks. Bye, guys.